everybody, it's Allison again, stlprostretch.com. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Today's video is going to be a kind of a blend. We're going to be doing some resistance stretching, some dynamic stretching, and we're going to try to work into the yoga pose called Camel. As usual, work within your range of motion. If something hurts, please stop doing it, and always remember to move and resist when we're moving and resisting, right? Okay, so we're going to start on the mat. We're going to go over some basic stuff. I think in the last video, I did a lot of upper body. It would be great if you could do this one like right before you do this one to get your shoulders opened up. But we're going to start with reverse tabletop. In my last video, I had blocks I was using for reverse tabletop. We can take a lot of the tension off your hands and your wrists. So if you have sensitive hands and wrists, try that. Again, when you position yourself for this, you don't even have to lift up. If you don't want to, you can just pull your shoulder blades together and down the back and pop the chest open. That is enough. And then you can relax again. So just pull forward and then relax. Now if you're up for it, you're going to pull your shoulder blades together and down the back and lift the hips up as well. And slowly lower. So I'm going to, as I pop up, pull my shoulder blades together and down the back, try to pop my chest open, which is really hard. I'm also going to pull my hands toward my feet. So I'm pulling my heels back toward me and I'm pulling my hands forward to create even more resistance. So as I lift up, I feel it even more, and I'm going to kind of slide forward a little bit. I've actually been doing this stretch for even longer than I've been doing resistance stretching because the front of my shoulders always seem to be tight. And I kind of just figured it out on my own, but this is definitely one of my favorite stretches. Another thing you can do if you've got sensitive wrists, or just turn your hands out to the side. That's going to take a lot of the stress off of your wrists as well. And you might even feel it some different places. Okay. Next, we're going to do a little stretch for front body, quads, and hips. I would like you to sit with your right leg, not 90 degree, a little bit less, like you're doing half of this. And then you're going to flip the other leg around. Okay? I'm going to put my right hand behind me. I'm going to pop my hips up, pull my tailbone underneath me, and reach up and kind of over with my left arm. And then release back down to the mat. So we want to pull the tailbone under and reach up and over. Should get right into all that front line. You can kind of think about turning the hips to the left a little bit as well. If you want to add breathing, inhale up, exhale down. All right, we're going to just turn around and kind of walk the hands away. I want you to imagine as you do this, pulling your ribs away from your hips as you twist. Some of you more flexible people could come down to your elbows. It's a stretch for me to do that for my spine, so I'm not going to, but I just wanted to demonstrate what that would look like. Imagine your legs are in just like a vat of concrete, and you're kind of just pulling the ribs up and away. And then come back to center and switch sides. So now, left foot's turned, right foot's flipped over, my left hand's behind me. I'm going to lift my hips, I'm going to tuck my tailbone under and reach up and over with the right arm. And then back down again. So this is a little bit of a side bend. And a little bit of hip extension. So hip flexion is when your knee comes toward your chest. Hip extension is when your leg moves away from your chest. And again, if you want to add the breathing, inhale, exhale. So again, I'm going to just imagine legs are in a vat of concrete. I'm going to walk my hands away and just kind of stretch the ribs out away from the pelvis and then begin to twist and turn. For me, this even gets into my serratus anterior and my obliques. And then I'm going to turn back around to the front. And next we're going to get into hip flexor and central hamstring. Again, I know we've done these stretches, but they are part of the core for ki-hara resistance stretching. So we'll be doing them. We'll be doing them lots of times. Grab a blanket if you need it. I always need one. And some blocks if you need them as well, or a chair. It's up to you. So I've got my blocks set out. I'm going to come up. My head's going to get a little cut off. Try not to do that. See if I can manage that. Here we go. All right. So I've got 1 foot forward, 1 foot back. I'm going to scissor my legs together. Back leg is pulling in toward the chest. Front heel is pulling back. I'm going to do the opposite of sticking my butt out. Shift forward and back. I always say if there was one stretch, lower body stretch that I would love for people to do, this would be the one, because we sit so much. You could even add some arms. I take my arms up above my head, lean back a little bit. And then we'll go on to central hamstring. So I'm straddling my foot with my blocks. I'm going to pull my heel toward me, pull it toward me, keep pulling it toward me, and then back up and kind of pry the leg open. I always feel like this is definitely like a hamstring curl at the gym, just obviously not in the same position. But I do feel like, okay, this is the contraction, pulling the heel in, and then just like prying that leg open by keeping the heel pulling in toward the body. And then while it's still contracting, pulling back until you feel a stretch. I've got my toes pulled back toward my shin. You don't have to. You can straighten them if you want. You'll feel a different stretch. Toes pulled back toward the shin, calf, behind the knee. Toes straight. More hamstring. And then we're going to work the other side. So hip flexor on the other side. I'm on my right foot now. I'm going to pull the left foot forward. Left heel is going to pull back toward me. Right knee is going to imagine pulling in toward my chest, like a fetal position. So I'm going to do that contraction, do the opposite of sticking my butt out, and come forward and back. Kind of straighten up a little bit if you can. I know I get a lot of people, and they know this stretch, and they show it to me, and they're like this. I'm like, no, you don't practice. It's not even attractive, is it? So we want to keep things open. And again, you can put your hands behind your head, tilt your head back. I'm kind of letting my belly fall a little bit when I do that, so I got to be careful, but it does feel good. How many reps is up to you. I usually just do them until my hip flexor starts to get tired or it feels like it's warmed up. And then I'm going to move on to the central hamstring. So my heel's pulling in toward me, and then I'm going to keep pulling it in toward me and back it up. This is kind of one of those stretches that I feel like I could just do all day long. It's a great one if you are trying to work yourself into the splits. Just keep working deeper into this. And you could even, start moving this front foot away from you, pulling and pulling back. And then just keep kind of working farther and farther into it. Your range of motion is going to kind of start to go away at this point. But then you can kind of start moving into the whole, like lifting up and then down again. So if you're looking to get into the splits, that's one way to do it. A safe way to do it anyway. Okay, and next, we're going to work on a kneeling stretch. I feel like my camera needs to be moved just a little bit farther away. So just hang there with me. There we go. That's better. Better. Okay. We're going to come back to the mat. Much better. Again, if you need something underneath your knees, blanket, whatever you need, you might just want to just kind of roll up. You could roll up your mat again. This is one I kind of forget about sometimes. So I'm up, and I'm going to put my hands either on my hips, crossed out in front. You could also put them up here. Sometimes I just like to put them behind me, interlace my fingers, pop my chest out, and then I'm going to push my feet into the mat and kind of back up, and then push forward again. So as I do this, and arms out front is probably the easier way to do it because taking a little bit of the weight, putting it out here, I can feel my quads contracting quite a bit. In fact, I would say this is about like the quad pump. This is a great one to do before you do a deep stretch with your quads because you're really warming up the muscle. If this is too much for you, try just turning and doing one arm, reaching down with the other. If it hurts your knees, stop doing it. And then we're going to grab the blocks. And I'm actually going to get rid of my blanket for this, but you don't have to. We're going to grab the blocks and put them about right back here. A little bit farther back than my feet. So my feet are here. I'm going to put them a little bit farther back. I'm going to contract my glutes as I bring myself up. Push my feet, my shins into the mat. Lift and lower. So push my feet, contract my glutes, tailbone goes under, push the hips forward as much as you can, and then release. Push, shift forward, and release. And I don't have the greatest knees. I do feel this a little bit at my knees, which is mainly that my quads are just super tight right now. I'm not really worried about it, but if you do have a lot of pain in your knees, just stop doing it, and maybe, just working in little bits, even coming up here, taking the blocks up a little bit, lifting yourself up a little bit, kind of just pushing forward and back. See if that works for you. Another thing that you can try for Camel is turn the blocks like this. Put your feet on top so the toes are on top of the blocks. and your hands are right there. I can touch my hands, so I'm pushing my with my toes, pushing my hips forward, and then trying to move into this camel like that. You didn't know it was so easy, huh? All right. Then we're going to work into some lat and downward dog. So for lat, we're on our hands and knees. I'm going to bring my right arm across to the left. I'm going to press my right arm into the mat and then pull the hips back. I'm pushing into the mat with my right hand, and then I'll come back up again. I'm going to take that right shoulder down toward the mat as I pull back. This is like going to give you more of a stretch, so if you're already getting a stretch and you don't need any more, then don't worry about it. And that is one heck of a lat stretch for me, at least. You could even take this a step farther. You could draw your other arm through, walk it across, or not. And then we'll switch sides. So left hand over, press the left hand into the mat, and pull back with your hips. One thing I forgot to mention on the first side is if you round your back, if you cat stretch your back, you are going to get more stretch out of it. And then you can lower that left shoulder down. And again, if you want to take this into knot, you can. You can put your hand in the center or across, and then just walk this other hand out. All right. And then we're going to get into downward dog. Downward dog you can do with your blocks or without the blocks. It's totally up to you. Blocks are a useful tool if you've got wrist pain or your hands bother you. It just takes, first of all, it takes a lot of the weight off of your hands and shifts it toward the feet. And then second of all, you can always let your fingers just kind of spill off the top of the block. I always feel like I'm going to fall over when I do that, but we'll do it with the block right now today. So tuck the toes under, lift the hips, shift the hips back, slowly lower the heels. Lift the heels up, shift forward, and shift back again. Slowly lower the heels. Try to pick the toes up if you can. And as you shift forward and lower the heels, pick the toes up, press the chest back toward the thighs, and lift the tailbone. So we have multiple actions we're doing here to get deeper into this stretch. I think one of the first videos that I did, I used a rolled up mat and a chair for this one, which is also an option. And we'll do one more. And come right back down. I think the next video, we're going to kind of work into a little bit of a flow. And if you like it, I'm going to be doing a Zoom class at some point. I will let you know. We'll be doing a full 45-minute stretching class. So please comment if you're interested, and I'll let you know. Happy stretching. Bye-bye.